Robert Russell here at mindsetsynergy.com and trainingalliancegroup.co.uk. Now, I'd like to extend a little more on my last podcast and discuss mindset with regard to football in terms particularly of how too many teams seem to be playing not to lose as opposed to attacking football and playing to win, and the mindset that goes behind that. I discussed it briefly, but I just wanted to look at a couple more points in detail which I hope you'll find interesting if you are a sports player. Now, the thing about playing not to lose, as we mentioned, is that it means you're going to be very defensive. It tends to mean that you're not going to achieve much in the way of a scoreline, so that, you know, even if you do get some goals, you're not generally going to get too many. You might win 1-0 if you're going to win, 2-1, 3-2. I mean, that's a big score, 3-2, for teams that play like that, or a team that happens to be playing on the day like that. Generally the score lines are not high at all, and that's because they're not going out, they're not attacking, they're not looking to really punch through the other side's defence and score, and they're more concerned about defending at all costs. Now, apart from the score lines, which obviously is one thing that's going to be affected, and the fact that, you know, it's making it less likely, I think, that you'll win, and you might have more in the way of draws. There's an interesting point. When you focus on something, you tend to steer yourself towards that. So if you just take, I don't know, something that simple that you want to go towards. You know, you see an object in the foreground and you think, I'm here and I want to go over there. And therefore you look at it. And as you look at it, your mind is steered towards going to it. It's a fairly simple thing. Everyone can understand that concept. And if we take that one step further, if you look at somewhere to go, but instead focus on certain obstacles along the way, then your mind will become more aware of those obstacles. Now, that seems a normal thing to do because you don't want to have to be held back by those obstacles. So you should be aware of obstacles, but if your total focus is on the obstacle, you're actually more likely to sort of fall into it. And that is the same with regard to defensive football. If your total focus is on defending, on not losing, then you're setting up in your mind the potential for losing. You're setting it up as a concept. And not only are you setting it up, but you're focusing on it. Even though you don't want it, your focus is actually on it. And that makes that more likely to happen. It's something that you can look at, and you might want to argue against, but it's a given fact. When I have dealt with sports psychology for other types of sport, I've really focused in on this. I've dealt with people who have been in motor racing, let's say, and motorbike racing. And British Superbikes was one of the things that I've dealt with in terms of sports psychology. And one of the riders said to me, do you know, it's a funny thing that when we come around a corner and if I don't take it right, if I come off the bike for whatever reason, there are a lot of sort of hay bales and things like that that generally are there around obstacles to slow you down. And he said, do you know, so often as the bike's sort of wobbling and I'm trying to bring it under control and it's gone off the track and I'm sliding towards something, I often end up hitting that hay bale. And, you know, I might even sprain a wrist or even break something. And I don't go through the gap. And I say the reason for that is because you're looking at it, your focus is on it, and somehow it's actually steering you towards it, even though you don't want it. Another example that we can give you, if you are a driver and you're going down a road and you're in a middle lane, let's say, and you have a lorry on one side of you and a lorry on the other side of you. So you're in a smaller car and you have two big vehicles on either side of you. Now some of you might have thought, oh, I hope I don't hit that vehicle. I hope I don't hit the one on the left. I hope I don't hit the one on the right. And because you're paying a lot of attention to the vehicle on the left and the vehicle on the right, you're not driving in a very true way. You're sort of veering across the lane a little bit. You go a little bit towards the left and then a little bit towards the right and correct yourself, and a little bit towards the left and right, and so on, because your focus is on where you don't want to go, but it actually leads you there. So in that situation, what you want to do is, if you're driving along and you've got two larger vehicles on either side of you, look at where you want to go, not at where you don't want to go, and you will drive in a more true way. So just coming back quickly to defensive football, that is one of the major reasons why totally defensive football, yes, you should be defensive, you should have an element of defence about you, but totally defensive football to me is actually steering you more towards the likelihood of losing than the likelihood of winning. And I think that's an interesting concept, and one which some of these teams who play in that way, England is one of them, should think about in the future. If you're playing attacking football, sure, you might let a few more goals in. As I've said before, you might let 2 or 3 goals in because your focus is more on attacking. But I don't think there's any harm in letting in a couple of goals if you've scored 4 goals and the scoreline's 4-2. So there we go. That is the mindset that to me is more important if you look at attacking football rather than defensive football. There's so many aspects to mindset. That's just one part, and I think it's a really good part to take on board, and I wish you well with your sport. I'll just finish off as I've done before. If you do want to look at goal setting, if you do want to look at mindset, I talk about all these things and more in my book. I've got it here just very briefly. It's called If You Think You Can, You Can, and it's about achieving absolutely any goal. So it can be a sporting goal, it can be a goal about losing weight, it can be a goal about stopping smoking, about letting go of anxiety, fear, phobia, post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, I deal with all aspects of mindset, from sports psychology to business coaching, business performance, sales performance, that sort of thing. If you think you can, you can. There's a series of exercises in here which, if you undertake them with regard to your specific goal, that will lead you towards attaining that goal. So good luck with everything that you do, and I'll look forward to speaking to you soon. So goodbye from me, Robert Russell, at Mindset Synergy and Training Alliance Group.